You're listening to Soundside. I'm Libby Denkman. A disturbing image shared by Senator Patty Murray has been reverberating across the internet. It shows a man's torso, his right side covered in wounds, lacerations, scratch marks, bite marks, after he was mauled by an immigration agent's canine. Blood spatters the sheet below him. The man, Wilmer Toledo-Martinez of Vancouver, Washington, was detained outside of his home last month by federal agents. Senator Murray and Wilmer's family are calling for his release and calling out the violent treatment he received at the hands of immigration officers. Olia Catala is Wilmer's attorney, and she joins me now. Olia, thanks for being here.
Hello, it's a pleasure.
So can you just walk us through what is your understanding of what happened the day Wilmer was detained and attacked?
Well, I can tell Wilmer's story. I can go from the very beginning of what happened. It happened on November 14th. He pulled into his apartment complex in his vehicle. He noticed that there was a car, like a pickup there, but he didn't give it any mind. He just continued going towards his apartment. He had his 2 and 3-year-old children in the back seat. And he pulled up next to his apartment, took the kids out, got into his apartment, and everything was going just as any other morning. He heard a knock on the door. He did open the door, and there was a man wearing a construction vest, and who told him that he hit his car. So the construction man said he hit Wilmer's car. He thinks it's Wilmer's car, and he wants him to come out to double check. Of course, as any person, Wilmer did put on his shoes and said, okay, coming out. So he came out, went towards the car. The two cars were close together. He went towards the car to look at the damage. And when the man asked him what his name was, Wilmer said, why don't I'm going to go in and get my ID and insurance so we can exchange. He just turned, and the next thing he knew, the dog was released, and it was on top of him, mauling him, biting him throughout his body. So he got severe injuries on his torso, on his arms. There's on his legs as well. So it's all over his body. He didn't even realize who they were. They did not identify themselves. They didn't even know who Wilmer was. They didn't confirm his name before the dog was released. Wilmer was just on the ground screaming, "Who are you? What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" He was not fleeing. He was not a danger. He wasn't resisting.
There's a video where Wilmer's wife recorded when she came out to talk to the officers. And there's an interaction on the video where Wilmer is on the ground at this point. So we don't see the actual attack part. But the dog is being held back by one of the immigration agents. And on video, he says to Wilmer's wife, "You need to back up. You need to back up or he is going to bite again," meaning the dog. So she was being threatened by basically more violence to her husband because she, according to this officer, was standing too close to them.
Exactly. Yeah, she was threatened. And as you can also see in the video, they were nothing, even under the most of craziest circumstances, they were nothing but cooperative. They were polite with the agents. They did everything that was asked of them. They were, he was not resisting. She was not resisting. She cooperated. He told her to move the way she did. He was screaming at her. So yeah, and you can also tell because he dropped right next to the car. He did not flee. So if they tried to say that, he was fleeing, he didn't. He was right next to the car when this attack happened.
I should say we've reached out to ICE and CPB on this. We haven't heard back about Wilmer's case. So he is detained there. What happens next for Wilmer?
Well, Wilmer is going to have a hearing shortly. We're trying to get some medical attention for him because he's still in a lot of pain. He's experiencing numbness in his arm. He's dizzy. He has blurry vision. He said the pain is causing him to sweat a whole lot, especially like at night. He does try to get help from, the facility. However, that's hard to come by. In the past few days, ever since the story has made public, I was told that they just refuse to see him. They're not providing him any medical help.
And he's
Uh,
still at Tacoma at the ICE processing center in Tacoma?
he's at the Tacoma Detention Center, yes. So yeah, that's what's happening with him right now.
And have you been able to speak with him, via video call? Is that how you're communicating, or how are you getting
I
that word?
both. I saw him in person. I've been seeing him in person. I've been communicating with him via Zoom and also through his wife. I speak with her daily. So yeah, I mean, I'm in constant contact with them.
Can we just take a step back, and I want our listeners to hear a little bit about Wilmer. What should people know about him, how he came to be in the country, as much as you can tell us about his situation ahead of this detainment?
Wilmer is a 28-year-old man. He is a father of three United States born children. He is married to a U.S. wife, U.S. citizen, I should say, and she was born in the United States. He was brought to the United States when he was a child, when he was 15 years old, and he has remained in the country ever since. So, United States is his home. That's where he's been raised. That's where, all his connections, all his family is. So this is what he knows. And what happened to him is not an isolated incident. It happens to so many, but a lot of people do not speak out. And what happened to him is a moral and constitutional failure. The Fourth Amendment protects every person on American soil from unreasonable force. And the Fifth guarantees that no one, not whether citizen or not, can be deprived of a life and liberty without due process. Yet, what happened to Wilmer, an unarmed man who was not fleeing, he was not resisting, posed zero threat, and he was mauled by a government-issued dog while his young children watched from the window. He lay bleeding on the ground next to his own car, and he was still complying, and he was terrified while officers ignored his humanity and delayed medical attention for hours. Um, this is not policing. This is cruelty.
And again, we have reached out again to ask these questions of CPB and ICE. So we're waiting for a response. Can I ask, does Wilmer have a criminal history? Because we've heard that this operation, the escalation of immigration enforcement under the second Trump administration, is about targeting people who are dangerous to their community. So people with serious criminal records. Does Wilmer have a criminal history?
Wilmer was arrested in 2018 for a misdemeanor. That's the extent of his criminal history. He has no convictions as of today. The most of the people who are in the detention center, many of the people, a lot of my clients, they do not have a criminal history.
Oh, we got a CPB response while I've been saying we reached out. So this is an emailed response. I literally just came across my desk from CPB as we've been talking. So I'm going to read it to you and we'll have you react live. Quote, on November 14th, 2025, CPB agents arrested Wilmer Toledo-Martinez, an illegal alien who has prior arrests for being in possession of a loaded firearm. While taking the alien into custody, he resisted arrest and attempted to flee. He was safely taken down by a designated patrol canine. After being taken into custody, he was provided medical attention for his minor injuries. Martinez will remain in DHS custody pending his removal proceedings. CBP will continue to unapologetically secure our nation's communities by removing the worst of the worst. Olia, again, just got this response from Customs and Border Protection. What's your reaction to that?
It would be humorous if it wasn't so sad. Minor injuries, we all have eyes. We all saw the photos that are circulating. Those are from the hospital. Those are not minor injuries that required stitches. We also saw that he was not attempting to flee. He was right next to the vehicle. How was he fleeing? There was a dog on top of him. He was cooperating. It's just absurd that, in these operations, there's no oversight, there's no accountability, and there's zero transparency. Where are their body cams? They don't have to wear them, right? So we're just supposed to rely on their words. And every time something horrible happens, whether a leg gets crushed, people get hurt, all that they will say is that they were resisting arrest. No, that's not how that works. And his story cannot be silent. And there needs to be accountability for this because this is not okay. It's happening way too often.
I want to draw people's attention, listeners' attention, to another case in Vancouver, Washington, so not far from where Wilmer was detained. This happened, an immigration operation where officers were detaining Jose Paniagua Calderon, and in the course of the arrest, it appears on video that Mr. Calderon's foot was run over by an ICE or CBP SUV, and you can, in the video, see him lying on the ground screaming as the car is moving. His family say his foot was fractured. DHS has denied that, said that they did scans, that his foot was not fractured. I just want to call attention to this because it's another arrest in the Vancouver area where violence allegedly occurred. In Wilmer's case, we can see it occurred. In Jose's case, it seems like this is something that DHS and the family are disputing. But I just want to hear from you in your practice serving clients in the immigration space. Do you see a lot of violence arrests in immigration cases? Is that a new development, or has that been historically the case?
It is a new development. People they have become way too callous and inhumane in the way they're detaining people, arresting people, apprehending people. It's not okay. A lot of people are also not speaking out because of a fear of retaliation, because their families, they're afraid for their families, they're afraid, for their kids, they're afraid for bad publicity. They're afraid. The immigrant community is very much scared. And also, crimes that are happening against the immigrants right now are not being reported either because they're so scared to go to the police. They're scared to even go to the hospitals.
So I just have a couple more questions in our final couple minutes here. One, if Wilmer is married to an American citizen, did he explore getting a green card before this? Basically, why was his status in doubt? Just so that we can understand the way these systems work.
Yeah, what people don't understand is that many of the individuals believe, or many people believe in the United States. That's once you marry a U.S. citizen, the process is so easy. You fill out some applications and bam, you get a green card, then you get citizenship. That's not how it works. It works quite different for people who have arrived to the United States undocumented. You have to go through, yes, petitions. You have to go through waivers. It takes years. And then there's a risk. Many times you have to leave the country and re-enter. So there's a risk of not being allowed to come back into the United States. So the process is also expensive. And of course, Wilmer explored it. And of course, there were plans to, eventually get this process started and to get his green card and citizenship. But it's not as easy as people seem to think. People think that just because you've been here for years, it's so easy to get legalized. No, that's not how that works. The process is quite lengthy and risky.
Olia Catala is the attorney for Wilmer Toledo-Martinez, who was arrested by immigration officers on November 14th and suffered severe dog bite and other wounds in the course of that arrest because of a canine unit being used. Olia, thank you very much. We're going to keep following this case, and I appreciate your time today sharing Wilmer's story.
Yes, thank you so much. And please keep his story alive. Don't let people forget what happened to Wilmer because it's happening all across the country. And I know how news cycles work, and tomorrow it might be another story, but please, spread the story around because this is happening too often and people are afraid of retaliation. So stories like these need to be shared.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And here's usually in Soundside when I would read the credits, but I wanted to mention an email quickly that I got from a listener, Claudia, who said I aired when I talked about the injuries of Wilmer Toledo-Martinez, the Vancouver man who was mauled by a CBP dog. That was our first segment today. Claudia wrote, after you read an email from CBP describing the victim's injuries as minor, you closed by saying the man had severe injuries. Clearly, that's not objective the way NPR is supposed to be. I shared the image, the link to the image with Claudia, and I wrote back, these images show that Wilmer's injuries were undeniably severe. And I just want to say my promise to you, listeners, is that we are not obligated as journalists to say the sky is green because a government source said it is. This is a pledge that I make when I get behind this mic, that we're not stenographers, we're reporters. And we'll be back tomorrow with more Soundside here on KUOW. Thanks for listening to Soundside. Don't forget you can listen live on KUOW 94.9 FM Seattle at noon and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, or anytime online at KUOW.org or on your favorite podcast app.